There is a reason your eyes stopped here. Not earlier. Not later. But now. In the middle of everything else you could have been doing, something pulled you in. Something interrupted your routine, your scrolling, your thinking. And you felt it, that subtle pause, that unexplainable pull, that quiet voice whispering, "Pay attention. This is not random. This is not coincidence. This is not just another message passing through your day. This is a divine interruption." And even before you try to rationalize it, even before your mind tries to explain it away, your spirit already knows something is different about this moment. Because you felt this before, haven't you? That strange awareness. That moment where everything around you continues as normal, but inside you, something shifts. Something dies. Something awakens. Archangel Michael stands at the edge of this moment, not gently, not passively, but with authority, with urgency, with a presence that does not whisper, it pierces. And what he is revealing is not something new. No, it's something familiar. Something you believed had already passed. Something you convinced yourself was finished, closed, handled, done. But what if it wasn't? What if the ending you accepted was only a pause? What if the silence that followed was not peace, but preparation? You see, there are patterns that do not disappear. They retreat. There are situations that do not end. They transform. And there are cycles that do not break. They simply wait for the right moment to return differently, quietly, strategically. And right now one of those is moving again. Think back for a moment. There was something, a situation, a connection, a problem, a pattern that drained you, stretched you, tested you. It took your energy. It challenged your peace. It forced you to grow in ways you didn't even want to. And when it finally faded, when it finally stopped, you told yourself, it's over. You breathed again. You moved on. You let your guard down. But what if that relief came too early? What if what you thought was closure was only distance? Because Archangel Michael is revealing something critical to you right now. The same situation is not coming back in the same form. And that is exactly why it is dangerous. Because you are not looking for it anymore. You are not guarding against it anymore. You are not expecting it anymore. And that is how repetition hides. Not through obvious return, but through subtle re-entry. Through new faces that carry old patterns. Through new opportunities that echo old traps. Through new conversations that feel different but carry the same energy underneath. This is why this moment matters. Because heaven does not interrupt without reason. Heaven does not warn without movement. Heaven does not speak unless something has already begun shifting beneath the surface. Something is already in motion. You may not see it yet. You may not fully feel it yet. But your spirit, your deeper awareness has already started picking up on it. That's why you felt slightly off lately. That's why certain thoughts have resurfaced. That's why certain emotions feel familiar even when your environment seems different. It's not regression. It's revelation. You are being shown, before it fully arrives, what is quietly approaching again. And here is the truth you must hold on to. This time is different. Not because the situation has changed, but because you have. You are not who you were when it first happened. You are not as unaware. You are not as vulnerable. You are not as easily pulled into the same patterns. But awareness is only power if you actually use it. And that is why this message had to reach you now, before the moment, before the interaction, before the trigger, before the decision point. Because when it arrives again, it will not announce itself. It will not say, I'm back. It will look harmless. It will feel familiar. It will seem manageable. And that is where most people fall again. But not you. Not this time. Because this time you were warned. This time you are awake. This time you will see what you couldn't see before. And Archangel Michael is not just watching. He is positioning you. He is aligning your awareness. He is sharpening your discernment. He is preparing you to recognize the pattern before it fully forms. So do not ignore this moment. Do not brush this off. Do not treat this like just another message. Because what you do next, what you choose next, will determine whether this returning cycle repeats or finally ends. You are standing at the edge of recognition. And what you recognize you can overcome. Type ISE clearly now in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 717 is now activated around your awareness. There was a moment when you told yourself it was finished. You remember it clearly, even if you don't revisit it often. It may not have been loud or dramatic. It may not have come with a clear ending or a perfect resolution. But there was a shift, a quiet conclusion you accepted within yourself. You said, that chapter is closed. You convinced your heart to settle. You allowed your mind to move forward. And slowly, you began to rebuild your sense of peace around the belief that it was truly over. But what if that sense of closure was incomplete? What if what you felt was not true ending but temporary distance? Because there is a difference between something being resolved and something simply becoming silent. And silence can be deceiving. Silence can feel like peace when in reality, it is only absence. Absence of conflict, absence of pressure, absence of the thing that once disturbed your life. But absence does not always mean transformation has taken place. Sometimes it only means the situation has stepped back, waiting, observing, shifting form beneath the surface. Archangel Michael reveals that what you experienced was not a full release, but a partial disengagement. You were given space, yes. You were given time to breathe, to heal, to regain clarity. But the root of that situation, the core pattern, the deeper lesson attached to it was not fully removed. And because it was not fully uprooted, it still exists, quietly, subtly, beyond your immediate awareness. This is where many people misunderstand their journey. They mistake relief for resolution. They believe that because something is no longer actively present, it no longer has power. But power does not always operate in visibility. Some of the strongest influences in your life are the ones that remain unseen, waiting for the right condition to reappear. Think about how it ended. Did it truly resolve, or did it simply fade? Did you gain complete understanding, or did you accept what you could and move on because you were tired? Did you fully detach, or did part of you remain connected, even if only in memory, emotion, or unresolved thought? These are not questions to trouble you. They are questions to awaken you. Because the illusion of closure is built on the belief that time alone completes what only awareness and transformation can finish. Time can create distance, but it does not automatically create growth. Time can reduce intensity, but it does not always remove the pattern. And if the pattern remains, it carries the potential to return, not in the same way, but in a form that feels new while carrying the same essence. You may have noticed this before without realizing it. Situations that look different on the surface but feel strangely familiar underneath. People who are not the same, yet trigger the same responses. Opportunities that seem fresh but lead to the same outcomes. This is not coincidence. This is repetition wearing a different face. Archangel Michael is showing you that what you thought had ended was actually waiting for a deeper level of recognition. The lesson was not just about what happened externally. It was about what it revealed internally. And until that internal recognition becomes complete, The cycle does not fully close. It simply pauses. There is no judgment in this. There is only clarity. Because you did what you could with the awareness you had at the time. You navigated it with the strength you possessed in that moment. You made decisions based on what you understood then. And that was enough for that stage of your journey. But now, you are in a different place. You see more. You feel more. You understand more. And because of that, what once seemed complete is now being revealed as unfinished. This is not a step backward. This is an invitation forward. An invitation to see what you could not see before. To understand what was not clear before. To finally close what was only temporarily quieted. Because true closure is not about something disappearing from your life. It is about something losing its ability to affect you in the same way again. It is about transformation, not avoidance. It is about awareness, not just distance. And this is why this message matters now. Because if you continue believing that it is fully over, you will not recognize it when it returns in a different form. You will meet it with the same openness, the same assumptions, the same unguarded awareness. And the cycle will begin again, not because you failed, but because you were not shown the full picture in time. But now, you are being shown. Now, you are being prepared. Now, you are being given the awareness that changes everything. You are no longer operating from the illusion of closure. You are stepping into the truth of completion. And completion requires recognition, intention, and conscious choice. This time, you will not simply move on. You will understand. You will discern. You will see beneath the surface. And because of that, what once repeated will now end. Type "I choose true closure" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 828 is now aligning your path with clarity. You will not recognize it at first. That is the part that makes this moment so critical. If it came back exactly the same way it left, you would see it immediately. You would guard yourself. You would step back. You would say, "I've seen this before," and you would respond differently. But that is not how this works. The return is never identical. The return is always refined, reshaped, and disguised just enough to pass through your awareness unnoticed. Archangel Michael reveals that what is re-entering your life is not the exact situation, but the same energy wearing a different form. It is the same pattern, the same lesson, the same underlying force, but it is presenting itself through new circumstances, new people, new opportunities, or even new thoughts. And because it looks different, you may welcome it without hesitation. You may engage with it without suspicion. You may even believe it is something entirely new, something harmless, something unrelated to what you experienced before. This is how cycles repeat, not through obvious repetition, but through subtle resemblance, through familiar feelings hidden beneath unfamiliar appearances, through situations that echo the past, not loudly, but quietly, almost imperceptibly, until you are already involved. You may have already felt the beginning of this return without fully understanding it. A conversation that felt slightly off, even though nothing seemed wrong on the surface. A decision that stirred a strange sense of déjà vu. A person who seemed different, yet triggered a response in you that you could not explain. These are not random moments. These are signals. These are early indicators that something is re-entering your field, something that carries the same frequency as what you believed was over. But here is what makes this moment powerful. You are not the same person you were before. You have grown. You have learned. You have evolved. And even if you are not consciously aware of every lesson, your spirit has absorbed more than you realize. Your awareness is sharper. Your sensitivity is deeper. Your discernment is stronger. And that means you are capable of recognizing what you could not recognize before. The danger is not in the situation itself. The danger is in treating it as new when it is actually familiar. Because when something feels new, you approach it openly. You lower your guard. You allow it to unfold without questioning it. But when something is recognized as a pattern, you approach it with awareness. You observe it. You question it. You engage with intention rather than assumption. Archangel Michael is showing you that the return has already begun, even if it has not fully revealed itself yet. It is moving quietly, positioning itself, aligning circumstances so that it can re-enter your life naturally, without resistance. It does not force its way in. It blends in. It adapts. It presents itself in a way that feels acceptable, even beneficial, so that you will not reject it immediately. This is why awareness is your protection. Because once you see it for what it is, it loses its ability to control the outcome. Once you recognize the pattern beneath the surface, you are no longer reacting unconsciously. You are responding with clarity. You are choosing your actions rather than repeating your habits. And this is where the shift happens. Because the return is not meant to trap you. It is meant to test your growth. It is meant to reveal whether the lesson hath been integrated or simply delayed. It is meant to give you an opportunity to respond differently, to choose differently, to break what once repeated. You may feel a pull toward it, and that is natural. Familiar patterns often carry a sense of comfort, even when they were once painful. There is something in you that recognizes the energy, even if your mind does not fully identify it yet. But recognition without awareness leads to repetition, while recognition with awareness leads to transformation. This is the moment where you decide which path you will take. You are not being asked to fear what is returning. You are being asked to see it clearly, to observe without rushing, to feel without immediately reacting, to pause long enough to ask yourself, have I felt this before? Have I seen this pattern before? Does this truly align with who I am now, or is it pulling me back into who I used to be? These questions are your shield. Because the moment you pause, the moment you reflect, the moment you choose awareness over impulse, you step out of the cycle. You interrupt the pattern. You change the outcome. Archangel Michael is not warning you to create fear. He is guiding you to create clarity. He is positioning you to recognize the hidden return before it fully unfolds, so that you are not caught in it again. This time, you are not walking in blindly. This time, you are watching. This time, you are aware. And awareness changes everything. Type I recognize the pattern in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 919 is now activating discernment within you. As this truth settles into your spirit, understand that awareness is not only for you. It is meant to flow through you and reach others who are still walking blindly through repeating cycles. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks with a PayPal link in the description, you are not just giving. You are planting seeds of light into lives that are still trapped in darkness, waiting for their moment of clarity. The word declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And this is not distant scripture. It is a living promise speaking directly over your obedience right now. I feel this in my spirit, and I say it as a bridge for your action. I am stepping into alignment by releasing what I carry. Let this moment not pass as a thought, but become a prophetic act, because your giving becomes a river that carries truth to those who need it most. As you release, heaven responds, multiplying what you place in motion. Now act in faith. Follow the link or scan the QR code. and become part of the divine flow that is awakening souls across the world. Something within you has already begun to notice the shift, even if you have not fully named it yet. It is subtle, almost easy to dismiss if you are not paying close attention. But there is a difference now. A slight tension in moments that should feel simple. A quiet hesitation where there used to be ease. A feeling that something is not quite aligned, even when everything appears normal on the surface. This is not confusion. This is not overthinking. This is your discernment activating at a deeper level than before. Archangel Michael is making this clear to you now. The signs are already present, but they are not loud. They are not dramatic. They are not meant to overwhelm you. They are meant to guide you quietly, steadily, precisely. And if you ignore them, it is not because they were absent. It is because they were too gentle for an untrained awareness. But you are no longer untrained. You are no longer unaware. You are now in a position where you can see what you once overlooked. You may notice it in your reactions first. A moment where something small triggers a response that feels disproportionate, yet familiar. A conversation that leaves you unsettled without clear reason. A situation that should feel neutral, but carries an emotional weight you cannot explain. These are not random responses. These are reflections of deeper recognition. Your spirit is identifying something your mind has not yet fully processed. Discernment does not always come as a clear voice. Sometimes it comes as a feeling that lingers, a thought that repeats, a sense that something is off, even when logic tells you everything is fine. And this is where most people make the mistake. They override the feeling with reasoning. They dismiss the signal because it does not come with immediate evidence. They choose comfort over clarity, and in doing so, they silence the very guidance that could protect them. But you are being asked to do something different now. You are being asked to trust what you feel before it becomes obvious. To respect the signal before it becomes a situation. To acknowledge the shift before it becomes a pattern again. Archangel Michael is not asking you to become fearful or suspicious of everything around you. He is asking you to become aware. There is a difference. Fear reacts quickly and blindly. Awareness observes, pauses, and responds with intention. Fear assumes the worst. Awareness simply notices what is present without distortion. And right now, awareness is what will keep you aligned. You may also notice changes in timing. Things that seem to happen too quickly or too conveniently. Encounters that feel almost arranged. Opportunities that appear at moments when your guard is lowest. This is not coincidence. Timing is one of the most subtle ways patterns re-enter your life. They align themselves with moments when you are least likely to question them, when you are most open, most receptive, most willing to engage without resistance. Pay attention to repetition as well. Not repetition in obvious events, but repetition in feeling. The same emotional tone appearing in different situations. The same type of discomfort showing up in new forms. The same internal dialogue resurfacing, even when the external circumstances have changed. These are echoes of the same pattern, reminding you that what you are facing is not entirely new. Another sign is the quiet pull toward familiarity. Even if that familiarity once caused discomfort, there can still be a subtle attraction to it. Not because it is right, but because it is known. The mind often prefers what it recognizes over what is unknown, even if what it recognizes was not beneficial. This pull can lead you to re-engage with situations that mirror the past, simply because they feel easier to understand. This is where your discernment must remain active. You are not here to reject everything that feels familiar. You are here to question it, to look deeper, to ask yourself whether what you are experiencing aligns with who you have become, or whether it is attempting to draw you back into who you were. Archangel Michael is guiding you to slow down your reactions, to create space between what you feel and how you respond. Because in that space, clarity emerges. In that pause, you gain the ability to choose rather than repeat. You step out of automatic patterns and into conscious awareness. You may also feel a heightened sensitivity during this time. Emotions may feel stronger. Intuition may feel sharper. You may pick up on details you would have ignored before. This is not a weakness. This is an expansion of your awareness. It is your system adjusting to a higher level of perception, where subtle signals become visible and quiet warnings become clear. Do not suppress this sensitivity. Do not dismiss it as overreaction. It is your guidance system refining itself. It is your protection becoming more precise. This is the moment where discernment becomes your strength. Not through force, not through control, but through quiet observation and conscious choice. You are not being rushed. You are not being pressured. You are being prepared. Because the more you recognize now, the less you will be affected later. The more you see in the early stages, the less you will be entangled in the outcome. And this is how the cycle is broken. Not by avoiding life, but by understanding it deeply enough to move through it differently. Type "I trust my discernment" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 646 is now strengthening your inner guidance. There is a strategy behind what is happening, and it is far more calculated than it appears on the surface. This is not random. This is not accidental. This is not something that simply happens without intention. Archangel Michael is revealing that what you are facing operates through a pattern of repetition, but not in the way most people expect. It does not repeat itself openly. It does not return in the same shape. It disguises itself, adapts itself, and reintroduces itself in a form that feels new enough to be accepted, yet familiar enough to trigger the same outcome. This is how cycles maintain their hold. Repetition in disguise is subtle. It does not rely on your memory of the past. It relies on your lack of awareness in the present. It depends on your willingness to treat what feels different as something entirely separate, even when it carries the same core energy. And because it looks slightly altered, it bypasses your defenses. It slips through the awareness you have built, not because your awareness is weak, but because the pattern has learned to appear harmless. You must understand this clearly. The strategy is not to trap you with the same experience again. The strategy is to lead you into a similar experience through a different path. It may come through a different person who carries the same tendencies as someone from your past. It may appear as an opportunity that seems unrelated, yet leads to the same emotional or mental state you once experienced. It may even show up through your own thoughts, encouraging you to respond in ways that feel natural, but are actually echoes of your previous reactions. And because the form has changed, you may not question it immediately. Archangel Michael is showing you that this is where awareness becomes critical. Because once you understand that repetition does not need to look identical to be the same, you begin to see beyond the surface. You begin to recognize patterns not by their appearance, but by their effect. Ask yourself this: how does it make you feel? What does it draw out of you? What patterns of thinking or reacting does it awaken? These are the indicators that matter. Because the external situation can change, but the internal response reveals whether you are facing something new or something familiar in disguise. This strategy thrives on automatic behavior. It relies on the part of you that reacts without pausing, that responds based on habit rather than awareness. When you move quickly, when you engage without reflection, When you follow the same emotional pathways you have followed before, the pattern completes itself without resistance. It fulfills its purpose, not because it overpowered you, but because it was not recognized in time. But you are no longer in that position. You are being shown this now so that you do not move automatically, so that you do not respond without awareness, so that you do not step into something simply because it appears acceptable on the surface. There is also another layer to this strategy that must be understood. It does not always present itself as negative. In fact, it often appears positive, beneficial, or even aligned with your desires. This is what makes it more effective, because when something feels good, you are less likely to question it. When something appears to offer growth, opportunity, or connection, you are more likely to embrace it without hesitation. But not everything that feels right in the moment leads to the right outcome. This is why discernment must go deeper than surface-level impressions. It must move beyond immediate feelings and into consistent observation. It must look at patterns over time, not just moments in isolation. Because repetition reveals itself through consistency, not through a single event. Archangel Michael is guiding you to recognize that what you are facing is not about avoiding life or rejecting every opportunity. It is about understanding the difference between genuine progress and disguised repetition. It is about identifying whether something is moving you forward or quietly pulling you back into a familiar cycle. You may feel a sense of urgency when engaging with this returning situation, a pressure to decide quickly, to respond immediately, to act without delay. This is another part of the strategy, because urgency reduces awareness. It limits your ability to pause, to reflect, to observe. It pushes you into action before you fully understand what you are stepping into. Do not allow urgency to control your response. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to step back. You are allowed to take time to understand what is in front of you. This is not hesitation. This is awareness in action. Because the moment you slow down, the moment you create space between stimulus and response, you interrupt the pattern. You break the automatic cycle. You step out of repetition and into conscious choice. And this is where your power lies. Not in controlling everything around you, but in controlling how you engage with it. Not in preventing every situation, but in recognizing what it truly represents before you respond. Archangel Michael is not revealing this to create fear. He's revealing this to create clarity. Because once you see the strategy, it loses its ability to operate unnoticed. Once you understand how repetition disguises itself, you become capable of recognizing it in real time. And when you recognize it, you are no longer part of it. You are no longer repeating. You are choosing. Type ISE through the disguise in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 505 is now activating clarity and protection within your path. There is a reason this awareness came to you before the situation fully revealed itself. It is not because you are being singled out for difficulty. It is because you are being positioned for clarity. Not everyone sees patterns before they repeat. Not everyone recognizes movement before it becomes visible. Most people only understand what they are facing after they are already inside it. But you are being shown beforehand. And that changes everything. Archangel Michael is making this known to you with precision. You were not chosen to carry fear. You were chosen to carry awareness. There is a difference. Fear reacts to what it does not understand. Awareness prepares for what it recognizes. And right now, you are being elevated into a level of perception that allows you to see what is forming before it fully arrives. This is not something given lightly, because with awareness comes responsibility. the responsibility to act differently, the responsibility to respond with intention, the responsibility to not fall back into the same unconscious patterns that once defined your experience. You are no longer operating from the same level you once were. You have been moved into a space where you can observe more deeply, feel more accurately, and understand more clearly. And that is why this message reached you now. It is not about predicting the future. It is about preparing your response. Because what is returning does not carry power on its own. It only gains power through how you engage with it. And when you are aware before engagement, you are no longer reacting blindly. You are choosing consciously. Many people never reach this point. They move through cycles without recognizing them. They repeat experiences without understanding why. They encounter the same outcomes through different situations, believing each one is separate, when in truth, they are connected by an underlying pattern. But you are being pulled out of that cycle. You are being shown the connection before it completes itself again. This is not coincidence. This is positioning. You may have wondered at times why you notice things others overlook, why you feel shifts before they are obvious, why certain situations seem clearer to you even when others remain unaware. It is because your perception hath been sharpening over time, even in moments when you did not realize it. Every experience you have gone through has refined your ability to see beyond the surface. Every challenge has increased your sensitivity to patterns. Every moment of reflection has deepened your understanding. And now, that accumulated awareness is being activated. Archangel Michael is guiding you to trust this level of perception. Not to question it, not to dismiss it, not to reduce it to overthinking or coincidence. What you are sensing is real. What you are noticing is valid. What you are feeling is part of a larger understanding that is unfolding within you. But awareness alone is not enough. It must be followed by alignment. You must align your actions with what you see. You must allow your choices to reflect your understanding. Because seeing a pattern and still stepping into it unconsciously creates the same outcome. Recognition without action leads to repetition. But recognition with intentional action leads to transformation. This is where your role becomes active. You are no longer just observing what is happening. You are participating in how it unfolds. You are shaping the outcome through the way you respond. And because you are aware before the situation fully forms, you have the ability to redirect it before it becomes something you have to recover from again. This is a position of strength. Not because you control everything, but because you control your response to anything. Archangel Michael is also showing that being chosen for this awareness may create moments of isolation. Not everyone around you will see what you see. Not everyone will understand why you pause when they would proceed. Not everyone will recognize the patterns that are clear to you, and that can create a sense of distance, a feeling that you are navigating something others are not fully aware of. But this is not separation. This is alignment. You are being aligned with clarity, even if it means stepping away from collective assumptions. You are being guided to trust your perception, even when it differs from those around you. Because your awareness is not meant to blend in. It is meant to guide you out of repetition. There will be moments where the easier path is to ignore what you see, to follow what feels normal, to engage in the same way you always have. But that path leads back into the cycle, and you have already been shown too much to return unconsciously. You are not here to repeat. You are here to recognize and choose differently. And this is why you were chosen to see this before it happens. Not so you can avoid life, but so you can move through it with clarity. Not so you can fear what is coming, but so you can meet it with awareness. Not so you can control every outcome, but so you can transform your experience of it. This is your advantage. This is your positioning. This is your moment to act from awareness instead of habit. Type "I accept this awareness" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 303 is now aligning your vision with truth. There is a moment, and it often happens quickly, where awareness meets emotion. That moment determines everything. Because no matter how much you understand, no matter how clearly you see, if your emotions take control before your awareness can guide you, the cycle begins again without you even realizing it. This is where most patterns reattach themselves, not through logic, not through obvious decisions, but through emotional triggers that feel immediate, intense, and familiar. Archangel Michael is bringing your attention directly to this point of vulnerability, not to weaken you, but to strengthen your response. Because the returning situation does not need to convince your mind. It only needs to activate your emotions. Once your emotions are engaged without awareness, your reactions begin to follow old pathways. You respond the way you once did. You feel the way you once felt. And before you realize it, you are no longer operating from your current level of growth, but from a past version of yourself that has already experienced this cycle. This is the trap. It does not look like a trap when it begins. It feels like a reaction. It feels justified. It feels natural. But what feels natural is not always aligned with who you have become. Sometimes what feels natural is simply what had been practiced the most. And if your past responses were shaped by confusion, pressure, or emotional intensity, those same responses can reappear automatically when the trigger is activated again. You may feel it as a sudden need to respond quickly, a pressure to explain yourself, defend yourself, or engage immediately. You may feel a familiar frustration rising, or a sense of urgency that pushes you toward action before you fully understand what is happening. These are not random emotions. These are signals that a pattern is attempting to reconnect with your previous responses. Archangel Michael is guiding you to see this clearly. The trigger is not the problem. The response is where the cycle either continues or ends. You cannot always control what appears in front of you. You cannot prevent every situation, every conversation, every unexpected moment. But you can control how you respond when it happens. And that control does not come from force. It comes from awareness combined with pause. The pause is everything. Because in the pause, you separate your current self from your past reactions. In that pause, you allow awareness to rise above emotion. In that pause, you create space for choice instead of repetition. This is not about suppressing your emotions. It is about understanding them. It is about recognizing when an emotion belongs to the present moment and when it is an echo from the past being activated again. When you can make that distinction, you stop reacting automatically and start responding intentionally. There is also another layer to this that must be understood. Emotional triggers often disguise themselves as importance. They make the situation feel urgent, significant, something that must be handled immediately. But urgency is one of the strongest tools of repetition. Because when you feel rushed, you do not reflect. When you feel pressured, you do not observe. You act. And action without awareness leads directly back into the cycle. Archangel Michael is showing you that you are no longer required to act immediately. You are allowed to step back. You are allowed to take time. You are allowed to observe what is happening without becoming consumed by it. This is not avoidance. This is mastery. Because the moment you do not react in the same way, the pattern begins to weaken. The moment you choose a different response, the cycle begins to break. And the more consistently you respond from awareness instead of emotion, the less power the pattern holds over you. You may also notice that certain triggers are connected to deeper themes. Feelings of being misunderstood, overlooked, pressured, or unsettled. These are not isolated emotions. They are connected to past experiences where similar feelings were present. When those feelings resurface, they can pull you back into the same internal state, even if the external situation is different. This is where your awareness must go deeper than the surface. Instead of focusing only on what is happening, ask yourself what it is bringing up within you. Ask yourself whether the intensity of your reaction matches the situation, or whether it is connected to something older, something familiar. This is how you separate the present from the past. Archangel Michael is not asking you to be perfect in your responses. He is asking you to be aware, because awareness creates space for change. Awareness interrupts automatic behavior. Awareness allows you to see the pattern while it is happening, not after it has already played out. This is your turning point, because once you begin to recognize your triggers without immediately reacting to them, you step out of the trap. You move from reaction to observation, from impulse to attention, from repetition to transformation. And this is how the cycle breaks. Not through force, not through avoidance, but through conscious awareness applied in the moment it matters most. Type "I respond with awareness" in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson Code 272 is now strengthening your control over every emotional trigger. There are moments in life that pass quietly, almost unnoticed, yet they carry the weight of transformation. This is one of those moments. It does not announce itself loudly. It does not demand your attention with force. But it stands right in front of you, offering a narrow window where everything can change depending on how you respond. Archangel Michael is making this clear now. You are standing within a critical window of awareness, and what you do within this space will determine whether the returning situation repeats or finally ends. This window is not indefinite. It is not something that remains open forever. It exists for a period where your awareness is heightened, where your perception is sharp, where you are able to see what is forming before it fully manifests. And during this time, you are given the ability to act differently, to choose differently, to respond with a level of clarity that was not available to you before. But here is the truth that must be understood. Awareness has timing. There is a moment when you see clearly, when everything makes sense, when the pattern is visible. And then there is a moment when the situation fully arrives, when emotions rise, when pressure builds, when the environment becomes active again. If you wait until the second moment to rely on awareness, it becomes more difficult to apply. Not impossible, but more challenging. Because once the situation is fully active, it begins to influence your emotions, your thoughts, your reactions. That is why this window matters now. Because right now, you are seeing without pressure. You are understanding without emotional intensity. You are observing without being fully involved. And in this state, you have the clearest perspective you will have before the situation reaches you again. Archangel Michael is warning you not to waste this moment. Not by rushing, not by reacting prematurely, but by preparing consciously. This preparation is not external. It is internal. It is the alignment of your awareness with your actions before you are tested again. It is the decision you make now about how you will respond when the moment comes. You are being asked to set your intention before the situation arrives. To decide, in clarity, that you will not react the same way. To recognize, in awareness, that you will not engage in the same patterns. To commit, within yourself, that when you see the signs again, you will pause, you will observe, and you will choose differently. Because when the moment comes, it will not remind you of this message. It will not tell you that this is the situation you were warned about. It will simply appear, naturally, seamlessly, as if it belongs in your current reality. And in that moment, your preparation will determine your response. Archangel Michael is showing you that this is not about avoiding the situation. It is about meeting it with a higher level of awareness. Because the situation itself is not the issue. The pattern of response is what determines the outcome. You may feel a sense of urgency building within you even now. A feeling that something is approaching, that something is aligning, that something is about to present itself in a way that will require your attention. This is not imagination. This is perception. This is your awareness recognizing movement before it becomes visible. Do not ignore this feeling. Do not dismiss it as uncertainty. This is the signal that the window is open. And within this window, you have the ability to change the direction of what is coming. Archangel Michael is also revealing that this window is a form of protection. Because being aware before the situation fully unfolds is a shield. It allows you to see what others may not see. It allows you to step back when others step forward blindly. It allows you to remain grounded when others become reactive. This is not luck. This is alignment. You are being aligned with clarity at the exact moment it is needed. But alignment must be maintained. Because awareness can fade if it is not reinforced. If you ignore what you see now, if you dismiss what you understand now, if you choose to move forward without integrating this clarity, the window begins to close. And once it closes, the situation will still arrive, but you will meet it without the same level of preparation. This is why Archangel Michael's message carries urgency. Not urgency to act impulsively, but urgency to become fully aware, fully present, fully aligned with what you now understand. You are not being rushed into action. You are being called into awareness. And awareness, when held consistently, becomes your protection. This is your moment to prepare. This is your moment to decide. This is your moment to align your response before the situation tests it. Because when it arrives, you will not have to figure it out. You will already know. Type "I am prepared and aware" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 111 is now surrounding your decisions with clarity. As this window of awareness opens before you, understand that every act of support you release becomes a doorway for someone else to receive their own moment of clarity. When you sow through Super Thanks, with a PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a platform. You are igniting a light that reaches souls standing in their own critical moments. The word speaks. Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days, and this is not distant scripture. It is a living instruction calling you into action now. I feel led to declare this with you. I release so others may awaken. Let your giving become a prophetic movement, not a passive thought, because what you release now multiplies in ways you cannot yet see. Heaven responds to obedience, and your seed becomes a river flowing into lives that are waiting for this exact message. Now move, with intention, follow the link or scan the QR code, and step into the divine flow that is awakening hearts across the world. Even as the situation begins to move quietly back toward you, there is something else happening at the same time, something you cannot see, but something that is just as real, just as active, and far more powerful than anything attempting to repeat itself. Archangel Michael wants you to understand this clearly. You are not facing this moment alone. While you are being prepared in awareness, heaven is already moving in protection. This is not passive protection. This is not distant or symbolic. This is active alignment happening in real time around your life. There are shifts taking place that you may not immediately recognize. Certain paths are being redirected. Certain outcomes are being adjusted. Certain connections are being filtered before they fully reach you. You may notice delays where you expected progress. You may see interruptions where you thought things would move smoothly. You may even feel like something is being held back or slowed down without explanation. But what feels like delay is often protection in motion. Archangel Michael is revealing that not everything is meant to reach you in the same way it once did. Not every opportunity is meant to unfold fully. Not every connection is meant to deepen. And not every situation is meant to repeat its previous outcome. There are forces at work ensuring that what once had access to you does not have the same level of influence again. This is where trust becomes essential. Because protection does not always feel comfortable. Sometimes it feels like deception. Sometimes it feels like confusion. Sometimes it feels like things are not aligning the way you expected. But what you are experiencing is not misalignment. It is recalibration. Heaven is adjusting the environment around you so that when the returning situation approaches, it does not find you in the same position you were in before. You are not standing in the same place. You are not operating from the same level. You are not surrounded by the same conditions. And because of that, the outcome cannot unfold in the same way. Archangel Michael stands as a barrier between what is attempting to re-enter and the version of you that once engaged with it unconsciously. His presence represents separation, clarity, and protection, not to isolate you from life, but to ensure that what reaches you is filtered through awareness rather than absorbed through habit. You may begin to notice that certain things do not affect you the way they used to. Situations that once triggered strong reactions may now feel distant, less intense, easier to observe without becoming involved. This is not detachment in a negative sense. This is growth. This is your awareness creating space between you and what once pulled you in automatically. At the same time, there may be moments where you feel guided to step back without fully understanding why. A subtle instinct to pause, to delay, to not engage immediately. These moments are not hesitation. They are protection communicating through your awareness. You are being guided, even in the smallest decisions. There is also a strengthening taking place within you. A quiet resilience that is building, not through force, but through clarity. You are becoming less reactive, more observant, more grounded in your responses. This is not something that happens instantly. It develops through repeated awareness, through consistent alignment, through choosing to respond differently each time you recognize a familiar pattern. And heaven is supporting that process. Archangel Michael is not only revealing what is returning, he is reinforcing your ability to stand differently when it arrives. He is ensuring that your awareness is not just momentary, but sustained. That your clarity is not temporary, but integrated into how you move forward. You are not being left to navigate this alone. There are moments where you may question whether you are truly protected, especially when things feel uncertain or unclear. But protection does not mean the absence of situations. It means the presence of awareness within them. It means the ability to move through them without losing your clarity, without being pulled back into patterns that no longer serve you. This is what is rising around you now. A form of protection that works through your perception, your choices, your alignment. You are being positioned in a way that allows you to see before you engage, to understand before you react, to choose before you repeat. And this changes everything. Because when awareness and protection move together, the outcome is no longer determined by the situation itself, but by how you meet it. Archangel Michael is standing with you in this moment, not to remove every challenge, but to ensure that you are not overcome by what once held power over you. You are being strengthened, guided, and aligned in ways that may not always be visible, but are always present. This is your assurance. And even as something attempts to return, you are not the same, your position is not the same, and the outcome will not be the same. Type "I am protected" and aligned in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 909 is now reinforcing divine protection around your path. There is a moment approaching, and it will not feel as significant as it truly is. It will not arrive with warning signs or dramatic signals. It will appear ordinary, natural, almost routine. And yet, within that moment lies the turning point. Archangel Michael is making this clear. The outcome is no longer determined by the situation itself, but by how you respond when it reaches you again. This is where everything shifts. Because in the past, your response may have been automatic. It may have been shaped by emotion, by habit, by the need to react quickly or resolve things immediately. You may have engaged without fully seeing what was happening beneath the surface. And because of that, the situation unfolded in a way that felt beyond your control. But now, you are no longer in that position. Now you are aware. Now you are prepared. Now you have the ability to choose. And that choice is what determines whether the cycle continues or ends. Archangel Michael is not asking you to control the situation. He is asking you to control your response to it. Because you cannot always determine what appears in your life, but you can determine how deeply it affects you, how long it remains, and whether it has the power to repeat itself again. You are standing at a point where two paths exist. One path is familiar. It is the path of reaction. It is the path where the situation triggers a response before awareness can guide you. It is the path where you engage quickly, where you follow the same emotional patterns, where you respond in ways that feel natural but lead to the same outcome. This path does not require effort. It happens automatically. It is the continuation of what has already been experienced. The other path is different. It is the path of awareness. It is the path where you pause before responding, where you observe before engaging, where you allow your understanding to guide your actions rather than your emotions. This path requires intention. It requires presence. It requires you to remember what you have been shown before the moment arrives. This is the path that breaks the cycle. But it is not chosen once. It is chosen in the moment it matters. Because when the situation appears, it will not remind you of this message. It will not tell you that this is the moment you prepared for. It will simply exist in front of you, waiting for your response. And your response will reveal everything. Archangel Michael is guiding you to understand that your power is not in avoiding the situation, but in transforming your interaction with it. You do not need to run from it. You do not need to fear it. You only need to meet it differently. This means recognizing when you are being pulled into old reactions. It means noticing when you feel the urge to respond quickly without reflection. It means becoming aware of the emotional patterns that once led you into repetition. And in that awareness, choosing to do something different. You may feel resistance when you do this. A part of you may want to follow the familiar path because it is easier, because it is known. But ease does not always lead to growth. Familiarity does not always lead to alignment. Sometimes, the most aligned response is the one that feels unfamiliar, the one that requires you to step outside of your automatic patterns. This is where strength is required. Not strength to fight the situation, but strength to remain aligned with your awareness when the moment challenges it. You are no longer reacting from who you were. You are responding from who you have become. And this is what changes the outcome. Because when you respond differently, the pattern cannot complete itself in the same way. It cannot follow the same path. It cannot reach the same conclusion. The cycle is interrupted, not by force, but by a shift in your response. Archangel Michael is standing with you in this moment, not to act for you, but to remind you of what you already know. You have been shown what is returning. You have been given the awareness to recognize it. You have been prepared to respond differently. Now, the decision is yours. Stand in your awareness or fall back into repetition. Pause and observe or react and repeat. Choose clarity or follow familiarity. This is the moment where your growth becomes action. This is the moment where your awareness becomes transformation. This is the moment where the cycle either continues or ends. And you already know what to do. Type "I choose to stand in awareness" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 808 is now strengthening your ability to choose correctly in every moment. There was a time when you experienced situations as if they were happening to you without your awareness fully engaged. You reacted, you adapted, you tried to manage what was in front of you, but often it felt like you were one step behind what was unfolding. You saw things clearly only after they had already affected you. You understood patterns only after they had already repeated. And in those moments, it may have felt like you were simply navigating circumstances rather than directing your experience within them. But that position has changed. Archangel Michael is revealing that you are no longer standing in the role of someone who is affected without awareness. You are being moved into the position of a watchman. And this shift is not symbolic. It is practical, active, and transformative. A watchman does not wait for something to happen before responding. A watchman observes before movement becomes action. A watchman sees what is forming before it becomes visible to others. This is who you are becoming. This is why you were shown what is returning before it fully arrives. Because you are no longer meant to react after the fact. You are meant to recognize in advance. This is the shift in power. Not power over others, not control over every situation, but power within your own awareness. The ability to see, to pause, to choose, and to act from clarity rather than impulse. In the past, the pattern may have had the advantage. It moved unnoticed. It formed without resistance. It engaged you before you had the chance to fully understand what was happening. But now, the advantage has shifted. Now you see it forming. Now you recognize the signals. Now you understand the strategy behind it. And because of that, you are no longer in a reactive position. You are in a prepared position. Archangel Michael is guiding you to fully step into this role. Not partially, not occasionally, but consistently. Because awareness is not something you use only in certain moments. It is something you maintain as a way of moving through your life. You are becoming someone who observes before engaging. Someone who listens beneath the surface. Someone who recognizes patterns not by their appearance, but by their nature. This does not mean you become distant or disconnected. It means you become intentional. It means you are no longer pulled into situations unconsciously. You choose when to engage, how to respond, and whether something aligns with your current level of understanding. There is a calm strength in this position, a steadiness that does not rush, a clarity that does not need to prove itself, a confidence that does not depend on external validation. This is what it means to move from reaction to observation, from impulse to intention, from repetition to awareness. You may notice that as you step into this role, certain dynamics begin to change. Situations that once drew you in may no longer have the same effect. Conversations that once pulled you into emotional responses may now feel easier to observe without becoming involved. Patterns that once repeated may begin to lose their hold simply because you are no longer engaging with them in the same way. This is not coincidence. This is the result of your position shifting. Archangel Michael is showing you that this is not about becoming guarded or closed off. It is about becoming clear. It is about understanding your environment without being controlled by it. It is about maintaining your awareness regardless of what appears in front of you. There will be moments where this awareness is tested. Moments where the situation feels convincing enough to draw you back into old responses. Moments where the familiarity of the pattern attempts to override your clarity. But this is where your role as a watchman becomes active. You do not react immediately. You observe. You recognize. You allow your awareness to guide your response. And in doing so, you maintain your position. Because once you fully step into this role, you cannot unknow what you know. You cannot return to unconscious repetition without being aware of it. And that awareness itself becomes your protection. You are no longer navigating blindly. You are no longer reacting without understanding. You are no longer repeating without recognizing. You are watching. You are aware. You are choosing. And this is the shift in power that changes everything. Not because the situation disappears, but because it no longer controls the outcome. You do. Type "I stand as the watchman" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 121 is now strengthening your awareness and position. This is where everything comes together. Not in theory, not in possibility, but in decision. Because everything you have seen, everything you have understood, everything you have felt building within you has been leading to this final realization. You are no longer the same person who once experienced this cycle without awareness. Archangel Michael stands firm in this moment, not to warn you again, but to confirm what has already been placed within you. You are ready. Not because the situation has changed, but because you have. Not because the pattern has disappeared, but because you now see it before it completes itself. And this is what ensures that this time, you will not be caught off guard. There was a time when things unfolded faster than your awareness. When situations developed before you could fully understand them. When your responses came from habit rather than clarity. But that time has passed. You are no longer moving unconsciously through repeating cycles. You are no longer reacting without recognition. You are no longer stepping into patterns without seeing what they truly are. This is your moment of confirmation. Because the return you were warned about will happen. It will present itself. It will arrive in a way that feels natural, almost familiar, almost acceptable. And in that moment, there will be a brief pause within you. A quiet awareness. A recognition that says, "I have seen this before." That moment is everything. Because in that moment, you will decide whether the past repeats or the cycle ends. Archangel Michael is not asking you to fight the situation. He is not asking you to resist life or withdraw from experience. He is asking you to remain aligned with what you now know. To trust your awareness when it speaks. To honor your discernment when it activates. To choose your response from clarity rather than familiarity. You will feel the difference. The old way will feel automatic, quick, emotionally driven. The new way will feel steady, intentional, aware. And even if the new way feels unfamiliar at first, it will carry a sense of alignment that the old way never did. This is how you will know you are choosing differently. Because growth does not always feel comfortable. It feels clear. It feels grounded. It feels intentional. And this is where you step fully into your power. Not the power of control, but the power of choice. Not the power of force, but the power of awareness applied in real time. You are no longer at the beginning of this journey. You are at the point where understanding becomes action, where awareness becomes decision, where clarity becomes transformation. And once you make that shift, the cycle does not continue. It ends. Not because it disappears, but because it no longer finds the same version of you to attach itself to. Archangel Michael is leaving you with this final truth. What returns is not stronger than your awareness. What reappears is not more powerful than your clarity. The only way the cycle continues is if it is met with the same response. But you are no longer responding the same way. You are no longer seeing the same way. You are no longer engaging the same way. This is why this time is different. This is why this time you will not be caught off guard. This is why this time the pattern ends with you. There is nothing more you need to wait for. There is nothing more you need to be shown. You already have the awareness. You already have the clarity. You already have the ability to choose. And now, you step forward and apply it. And when the moment comes, you will not hesitate. You will recognize. You will pause. You will choose. And the cycle will end exactly where you stand. Type "the cycle ends with me" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1001 is now sealing this transformation within you. As this final truth settles into your spirit, understand this. Every time you choose awareness over repetition, you become a light for someone else still trapped in the same cycle. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks with the PayPal link in the description, you are not supporting a voice. You are releasing oil into a lamp that guides lost souls back into clarity. The Lord declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over." And this is not a distant promise. It is a living flow waiting for your obedience right now. I feel this rise within, and I speak it with you. I release so others may break free. Do not let this moment pass as inspiration alone. Let it become action, because your seed today becomes someone else's awakening tomorrow. Heaven multiplies what is released in faith, and your giving becomes a river that reaches lives you may never see, but heaven will always record. Now act with intention. Follow the PayPal link or scan the QR code, and step into this divine movement of awakening.